If you were a fan of 80s pop music or MTV during that era, one name that is synonymous with that time period is Cyndi Lauper. She would make a name for herself with her quirky fashion and unique voice. But in her early years, everything seemed stacked against her. In today's video, let's take a look at the rise of Cyndi Lauper and her first record. Born on June 20th, 1953, being of mixed German and Sicilian heritage. She was the middle child, having an older sister and younger brother. Her parents unfortunately would divorce when she was just 5, and Cyndi and her siblings would be raised by their mother, who moved the family to Queens, residing in an area called Ozone Park. It was here that Cyndi saw her mother struggle to support her family, working long days as a waitress. Her mother would remarry and later divorce that man, who was quite abusive towards Cyndi and her older sister. And it also became apparent to Cyndi that she wanted nothing to do with being a normie, and it was no surprise that from an early age, she was a rebel and she had the receipts to prove it. She would be thrown out of a local Catholic school because, as she told Rolling Stone, her mother was divorced, and she soon ended up at a Catholic boarding school that was run by nuns. In her profile in Rolling Stone, she would claim that in her mind, the nuns had nothing to do with God, and the nuns instead seemed more like sadists, punishing girls for doing things like talking to boys, or in one instance, when she scratched her friend's back. She would only last about 6 months at that Catholic boarding school, with the final straw being when she asked one nun if she menstruated. Cyndi would tell Rolling Stone, "The church, the family, the government, those are the 3 biggest oppressors of women that will ever come along." She would soon find solace, though, in singing, drawing, as well as poetry, until she was old enough to play the guitar thanks to her older sister. Meanwhile, during this period, her mother's favorite music, including Louis Armstrong and Eileen Farrell, started to influence her in addition to the Beatles. Cyndi would soon start attending public school, but the kids weren't very nice to her, throwing rocks at her because, as she put it, she looked unacceptable based on how she dressed. As by the age of 12, she was already starting to develop her quirky fashion style, and she was also writing songs and would cite Van Gogh as one of her heroes because no one understood him either. It was in her teen years Cyndi started doing shows locally and playing in parks, and she would remark that she felt really good when she sang and thought because she felt good that meant she had talent. But to those around her, including her teachers, they didn't think she had musical talent, with her getting a 0 in art class, and at the age of 17, she would drop out of school, leave Ozone Park, after she caught her father spying on her in the bathtub. Taking just a few items with her, including a toothbrush, an apple, as well as a copy of Yoko Ono's Grapefruit, she would live at her sister's place on Long Island. Her sister had long left home to escape their abusive stepfather. It was at her sister's place that she met a gay couple, 2 guys, Carl and Gregory, who would take her under their wing. It was during this period Lauper worked briefly for book publisher Simon & Schuster as a receptionist in Manhattan, but a 9-to-5 job just didn't fit her. She'd also land a job at a Hare Krishna temple where she traded work for food, but she left after she was told that women would eat separate from the men. She would soon meet a 60-something man named Bob Barrell, who introduced her to writers like Thoreau and the world of politics. It was shortly after this she would spend a few weeks in Canada camping north of Toronto in a national park with her dog Sparkle, doing sketches of the quiet forest. Her sister would help her out by sending her unemployment checks, and she'd temporarily relocate to Vermont, where she lived at a youth hostel, meeting a variety of runaways, and she soon took art classes while supporting herself with a number of odd jobs, including working at a kennel, as well as being a waitress, and my personal favorite, teaching people karate and judo despite knowing nothing about self-defense. She would admit feeling like an outcast, and she soon started fearing for her future and eventually found her way back to Ozone Park. It was throughout the 70s she'd play in a variety of bands that wouldn't really pay the bills or convince people that she had any kind of talent. She would tell the Baltimore Sun, "I cried my eyes out every night. I like to play in front of people and sing to them, But a lot of the time, they didn't know what the hell I was doing up there, or even care. I got fired from gigs because I drew people away from the bar. It was by 74 she got her start as a dancer and backup singer for a cover band called Doc West. She then fronted another group, a rock cover band named Flyer, who would do hits by Rod Stewart and the Rolling Stones. But by 1977, she had to quit singing when she seriously strained her voice. She would take a year off from singing, being told by doctors that she would probably never sing again, but she soon met her savior in vocal coach Katie Agresta, who would tell Rolling Stone, "When she came to my studio 7 years ago, she could no longer speak. She'd been told by 3 doctors that she would never sing again. I think she had one foot off the Brooklyn Bridge, to tell you the truth." Lauper would admit to the Baltimore Sun that those vocal lessons also changed the way she sang, admitting that she wasn't initially happy with how her voice sounded in her early days. Cyndi managed to get back on her feet and sing again, and she would get a residency at the Manhattan hotspot Trude Hellers, and Lauper's manager would introduce her to songwriter John Turi, who played the sax as well as keyboards. The pair soon started writing songs together, and in 1978, formed a new group, a rockabilly new wave outfit called Blue Angel. By the spring of 1979, Blue Angel cut a demo tape that got the attention of the Allman Brothers attorney Steve Mussorgsky, but his assessment of the group was less than stellar, telling Rolling Stone, "The tape was terrible, the songs were bad, the playing was bad, there was something interesting about the singer's voice, but that was all." Mussorgsky checked out the group and instantly fell in love with Lauper's voice and bought out the management contract from her current manager for $5,000. Soon enough, he would set up a showcase for Blue Angel and industry heavyweights showed up. The feedback was all the same though. The frontwoman was great, but the rest of the band was awful and they should be fired. But Lauper was insistent that she wasn't going to fire her band, and within half a year of holding out, Polygram agreed to her demands and offered the group a record deal. Their debut album would come out in 1980, and despite touring with the likes of Hall & Oates in Europe and getting positive reviews, their debut album was a commercial flop. The label execs at Polygram soon tried to push Lauper to pursue a solo career, with her telling the Baltimore Sun, "Polygram wanted to clone me, turn me into a Barbra Streisand, put cement go-go boots on me so I couldn't do anything on stage." Then the band hit a snag. After they fired manager Steve Mussorgsky, he turned around and sued them for $80,000, and it resulted in Lauper declaring bankruptcy. It was the final nail in the coffin for Blue Angel. It seemed like Lauper's aspirations of being successful in the music industry were over. She soon got a job as an entertainer for businessmen at a Japanese restaurant. She would recall to the Wichita Falls Times, "It was breaking my heart. I was so depressed. I don't even like to have someone put their hand on mine. I don't know him. I feel like a dance hall girl." But she soon met David Wolff, who would manage her and become her boyfriend, and the couple would eventually get engaged. Wolff would secure a solo recording contract with Portrait Records, which would later be absorbed into Epic and then Columbia. Wolff would arrange for producer Rick Chertoff to work with Lauper on her first solo record. Added to the mix was songwriter Jules Shear, who came into the fold after Lauper heard his song All Through the Night, a commentary about the loss of innocence. Given Lauper's tough background, the song of course resonated. She would be given considerable creative control over her debut album 1983, She's So Unusual, as well as the music videos for the singles. The album was a monumental success, churning out 4 top 5 hits, including her debut single, a cover of the Robert Hazard track Girls Just Wanna Have Fun. In Hazard's original version, he was explaining to his parents that it was impossible to find a good bride because girls just want to party. Lauper came up with a feminist angle celebrating youthful hedonism instead of condemning it. She was, however, initially reluctant to do the song, telling the New York Times, "I didn't want to do the song at first because I didn't think it was especially good for women. And then I saw my grandmother's, my aunt's, and my mother's faces in my head, and I thought that maybe I could do something and say something so loud that every girl would hear, every girl, every color." But Lauper's cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun wasn't a hit initially, and the label soon stopped promoting it. However, a flash of genius from her manager had them seeking out wrestler Captain Lou Albano for an appearance in the music video as Lauper's father. Albano agreed, but countered with an invitation for Lauper to make appearances in the then fledgling WWF. Up until this point, program directors on radio said they would never play Girls Just Want to Have Fun because it was not a top 40 song and not album radio because she sings too high. Her manager also loved wrestling and thought outside the box, and also believed that if he could get her on the fledgling WWF, the song would get quite a bit of attention. Lauper appearing on the WWF eventually wound up on a new segment on Entertainment Tonight, and it soon bled over to other mediums, and radio would eventually pick up the song. The video was made on a shoestring budget of about $35,000 at the time. It's about $107,000 in today's money. It would also be made up of a volunteer cast, even consisting of Lauper's own lawyer, secretaries at her label's office, and Lorne Michaels, producer of Saturday Night Live, loaned his fancy new editing equipment that allowed the production team to do some computer-generated images of Lauper as well. It turned out that Michaels shared the same attorney as Lauper. She would end up winning Best Female Video at the first MTV Video Music Awards and was nominated for 8 more awards at the inaugural VMAs in 1984. Cyndi's sound and style made her a perfect match for MTV, and the wrestling angle only helped cement that stardom. Girls Just Want to Have Fun would peak at number 2 on the Hot 100 chart, but it wasn't the only cover on the album, as Lauper did her version of The Brains' Money Changes Everything and Prince's When You Were Mine. She would also score her first number 1 hit with the album's second single, Time After Time. And the Ode to Masturbation, She Bop, would peak at number 3. Lauper would tell Howard Stern years later that she recorded the song in the nude. In 1985, she would end up winning the Grammy for Best New Artist with 5 total nominations. In 2002, Rolling Stone would rank She's So Unusual as number 41 on their 50 Essential Women in Rock Albums list. Then in January of '85, Miss Magazine also named Cyndi Lauper as the Woman of the Year for, and I quote, taking feminism beyond conformity to individuality, rebellion, and freedom. 1984 soon became the year of Cyndi Lauper, and at one point she also became a mascot for MTV, even appearing in the I Want My MTV ads. Cyndi Lauper's debut record would sell an astounding 16 million copies worldwide, with 7 million of those copies being sold in America. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, use the link in the description box below. We'll see you again in Rock Culture Stories. Take care.